Well, welcome back, or thank you for joining us. I'm Susan Martin, and this is Behind the Bower. We hope to offer some inspiring conversations, a fresh look at arts in our community, provide spotlights on artists, performers, collaborative partners, and organizations. We basically just want to celebrate the universal expression of human experience through arts, culture, and community. So joining me today from Goose Creek Studio is Mitchell Bond. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. So recently I was reviewing an article that presented some research about the importance of arts in a community. They mentioned that the arts can help everything from challenging inequalities to providing economic opportunities, boosting your health. And I'll be honest, the first one or two people that came to mind when I was reading that article were both you and Patrick and the work that you do in this community. So I'm very thankful that you could join me today to talk a little bit more about what you all do. And maybe we'll have a little conversation about ways the arts do benefit our community. So introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Goose Creek Studio.
Okay, so my name is Mitchell Bond, and I'm the co-owner of Goose Creek Studio Gallery and Custom Framing. We've been doing this for 14 years.
I was thinking about that this morning. I actually participated in your official
the ribbon cutting. That's
ribbon
right.
Cutting, yes, with Moncure's Frame Gallery.
That's right.
Yes, so I was like thinking back, how long have I known these guys?
Ed Neville and Johnson had Moncure's over on Washington Street, and we bought that business from them in would be, I guess, 2009. In 2009.
Time flies.
And started to take over their framing business. And when we took over the business from them, they were really representing just one artist and kind of showing her work in their gallery and had some prints. And we decided we wanted to do shows with local artists as other folks. So we kind of put out the invitation, and it just exploded. Folks came out of the woodwork.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we really ended up with way too little space at that little cottage on Washington Street. So we bought the building over on Court Street and moved the business over there, and have been doing it there since, I guess, 2 years later. So 12 years now.
Right.
On
Yes.
Court Street.
And about how many artists? I know that now it's a little bit it's expanded, or the model may have changed a little, in that you also have works of art for sale by various artists throughout the community or region. Is that true?
That's true, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, for the most part, the folks are local.
Right.
So we've been very specific that we wanted to highlight local people, and have pretty much stayed to that. We have some folks that are more regional, but they have connections to Bedford in some way.
Right,
which is kind of what our mission's been to do that.
Right. I can imagine that it has to be very rewarding, or that you're preserving individuals' works of art that may mean something to them that they have purchased or received from a family member, and then also memories for individuals. Tell us a little bit.
Well, both of us have seminary backgrounds, so we both went to seminary. And one of the things you take is a course in pastoral care, which is basically just kind of how to listen to people and how to talk about their whatever issues that come up for them. And we found out that custom framing is really pastoral care because people bring stuff with them that means something to them and usually has a story to go with it. So we do a lot of listening, a lot of reflecting kind of back to the person, what their story is about that. And it's amazing to, the kind of intimate knowledge that we've gotten of folks just by being able to take things that they care about and help them, present them, and preserve them.
Yes. Have you had any unique stories that you can think of over the years that stand out? Or I'm sure there's
that I can say on the
hundreds.
Well,
yeah. Let's keep it cool.
Well, we say we'd like to. We say we'd like to write a book because there's just nothing comes up to mind right now. That's I think that a lot of times old photographs, old documents. Those are just things that people treasure.
Right, right. Yeah, I can imagine. I know that for me personally, I've had many things framed, both when it was Moncure's and since you guys took over, and it's been a variety of family photos and, of course, kids' college graduation, diplomas, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So you all do a wonderful job. Tell a little bit about your. You have a small exhibition space. Tell a little bit about that and how you all come about what's going to be presented in that space.
Well, that's really kind of morphed over the last couple of years, and I think that what we're really struggling to do is try to find a place where we can be relevant, kind of in the mix of all of the arts offerings, and so with kind of with COVID and everything that's happened over the last couple of years, we've really specifically tried to gear those exhibitions more toward the work that we're doing with art and spirituality. So we first started out with we were doing kind of monthly exhibits, just taking one artist and highlighting them, and we've really moved more toward taking a thematic show.
Yes.
And specifically about contemporary issues, and putting that out there instead. So it's ever evolving, kind of changing how we're going to do that and what we're going to do with it.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a current exhibit now? Is there a theme?
Actually, Beulah Witt is the featured artist right now. So Beulah took a studio upstairs at our shop when we opened on Court Street, and has been there for the last 12 years. She just turned 91.
That's amazing.
And still comes in regularly, but at the end of the year, she'll be moving out. Okay. So this is kind of a celebration of her, kind of a recognition of the big part that she's played in our business and our community.
Right, right.
And want to really showcase and celebrate that.
Right. I have known her for many years, and she's always willing to learn new things. She's actually taken some classes at Bauer Center for the Arts just in the past year or two, and says, she's never too old to learn.
Yeah,
something
new. I think that's a great model.
Right, right, right. Tell us a little bit about, for those listeners that don't know her, about her work. I know that she does a lot of pieces that are historic pieces in the community, the Peaks of Otter, things like that.
So she actually started her work life was at Piedmont Label, and she worked in the department. It's called the stripping department, which was a really detailed work on the screens that were used for printing. And then when she retired, she decided to start painting, and she's taken historical buildings and scenes from the area, and she has a really good big following in the area.
Yeah.
Lots of folks.
I know most recently she did some pieces on the old Yeller and the middle school building that have been very popular, obviously, since the fire and the sale of the building. So she does a great job of being the historian or caretaker of those buildings and places in our community, which is amazing. Tell me a little bit about, and I looked at this last night because I'm gonna mispronounce it.
Everybody does.
Okay, is it Portiuncula?
Portiuncula.
Portiuncula.
Yeah.
The Guild. Tell me a little bit about that.
So, that goes back to really what we were thinking we were going to do when we moved here. So our background was in seminary, theological education, arts management, kind of those areas. And we moved to a family property in Montvale, which is actually how we got Goose Creek Studio, because we were living on Goose Creek.
Okay.
And we didn't really know what it was going to be before we started calling it Goose Creek Studio. It became the frame shop.
Right.
Our intention was to run the frame shop. That would be our livelihood. We'd make money at doing that. And then at the farm in Montvale, that we would build an artist retreat center where people could come and go on sabbatical. They could write, they could paint, they could work, could have conversations around arts and spirituality. And really, the two factors worked into that. That was very remote for us.
Right,
I mean,
right.
we love being in Montville. It was beautiful, but it was a half hour to get to work and a half hour to get back. And if you didn't, you pulled in the driveway and you forgot to pick up milk, you were 20 minutes from buying something. So
Right, right.
plus like I said, the gallery kind of just took off, and we bought the building on Court Street. So that idea kind of went to the background, although we were still focusing some stuff that we were doing on arts and spirituality. We were really more focused on the business. So this is really kind of getting back to what we had initially started. So portiuncula is the Latin word for little portion. And St. Francis, in his work, had a vision, I guess, where God said to him, "Francis, my church is in ruin, rebuild it." And he took that literally and found a little small church in Assisi that was crumbling, and with his followers, the brothers, rebuilt that church. And that church was called by the locals the Portiuncula,
Okay.
the little portion. Actually, the real name of the church was St. Mary of the Angels, and that's where Los Angeles, California, gets its name from, because a mission from that area went to California, and so Los Angeles, the Angels. So that's where that comes from.
Okay. Yes.
So we started that actually out in our home gallery. We were doing exhibits that focused on arts and spirituality, and holding conversations around that work. Actually right before the pandemic. So in 2019, we worked with the Bedford Historical Society to take custody of a historic church building in Thaxton called Thomas Chapel.
Yes.
And kind of use that space as a laboratory for for the work that we're trying to do with that. So we're working on rebuilding that church.
Right.
We got an easement through the Virginia Department of Historic Resources, which means that the building will always be protected in terms of its historic integrity.
Okay.
And then, so we'll work with them to kind of do the restoration, but then the programming that we'll do out there is really around arts and spirituality.
Right. And I know that you all have had a few programs there already. If somebody's interested in learning more about that or how to become more involved, what would they need to do?
So the best thing to do would probably go to the website, which is portiunculaguild.org, and it's portiunculaguild.org. I can't believe I got through that. So you could sign up for the newsletter there. Follow us on Instagram. We also do that work.
And I saw recently, I saw some of your work, some Mandela art. Is that a fundraiser to help support?
It is a fundraiser to help support it. So we're a 501c3 organization, nonprofit, and we really are raising money specifically for the restoration of the chapel. So all of the programming is separate from that. It's just the money that we raise is just to fund the expenses of restoring the chapel.
Right. Is there anything specific that you all are in need of for the chapel at this point in time, or?
It's going to be a long process.
Right.
So the Historical Society, when the church dissolved in 1972, so that's when the Historical Society took it over, and it basically had been just left empty all through that time. And it's about 1.25 acres of land. And so nothing had really been done on that land. So we've spent a lot of time over the last couple of years just working on the property, getting some parking. We built a pavilion and an outbuilding with a outhouse, composting toilet. So really we now need to kind of move to the building. Part of it is we're still waiting for the historic resources. So they've approved the easement to go forward, but it hasn't been set in place yet.
Gotcha.
So we still need to wait on them to do anything on the outside of the building.
Right, right. And are you having to do renovations to historical standards? Okay.
So that anything on the outside, they have to approve. So you couldn't take the windows out and put
Right.
vinyl windows in. The windows would have to be restored or replaced with similar wooden windows.
Right, right. Yes, I've had some experience with historical renovations, and I know how time consuming, and there's a lot of waiting.
It's
and
a lot of waiting.
Right, right.
Because we started this process over a year and a half ago, and with them, submitting 18 digital documents, multiple pages of documents.
Right, right. It sounds like a wonderful project. What was it that made you and Patrick so passionate about doing this project?
Well, I mean, one of the things that we've experienced is throughout this, we talk to a lot of people just because we're open all the time and folks come through, and really hearing a need for folks that aren't connected to a local faith community or tangentially connected to a local faith community, wanting some sort of way to, with other people who share their same values, have some kind of expression with that. So we're kind of going off of that understanding of listening to people with that, and we're really we're letting the spirit go where it does, because we're kind of building a smaller community of folks that are seekers, that are looking for some kind of generative way to live out their spiritual expression and their artistic expression, and ask hard questions and
Right.
listen to each other and kind of grow from each other. I mean, one of the things that I've realized that we've done through our work, I don't know that we started to do it intentionally, although we're doing it more intentionally now, is trying to find people in our community that are doing generative work, that are caring for their neighbors, that are moving the conversation forward, that are supporting each other, and providing a platform for them to have a voice.
Right, right.
Because oftentimes, because the way things are in our political climate and in the world today, the negative things are the things that get the airtime.
Right, right.
Because
Absolutely.
people want to click on that or listen to that or be justified by
Right.
hearing something. And so it really trying to find those folks that are doing something positive and saying, this is a place for you to have a voice. So one of the things that we've done over the last couple of years, actually a collaboration with the Methodist Church, Main Street Methodist Church, is a program called Bread for the Journey. So it started out as a monthly gathering around a meal. We moved it to about every other month this last year. But the highlight of that is that we find somebody in the community who's doing good work and let them talk about what they're doing.
Right.
And talk about that in the context of, what we're trying to do with art and spirituality. So it's been a lot of creative folks that are really trying to address contemporary issues, and giving them a voice and having people ask questions and what can you learn from this and how can we work together?
Right.
And it's amazing the number of folks that are in our community that are really doing, such good work. And
Yes.
it's just, they don't, I think a lot of folks just don't know about them.
Right. And they
being
don't
able-
necessarily want recognition or
Yeah.
praise for what
Mhm.
they're doing.
Right.
They just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they really are such a wealth of knowledge in terms of being able to learn from them and,
Yes.
try to change what we're doing in order to collaborate and again move the story forward instead of
Right, right.
being stuck in the
If an
muck.
individual wanted to participate in one of those.
That's again through the newsletter. So we
through the
send
newsletter.
out information about that through the newsletter.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's interesting. All of the things that you've mentioned, as I mentioned when reading the article that recently I had seen that did research on community engagement in the arts, they did like a top 10, and you've almost covered every one of them with the work that you're doing, which I think is amazing. It talked about that the ways that the arts benefit our community is that building understanding between different groups. So talking about that it's powerful and humanizing. It's a way to communicate experiences across cultures, social groups, encourages engagement. I mean, you've just talked about all of those pieces. Talks about that, it affects our community or benefits because art can address and reduce social inequalities. It generates community discussions on social issues. It opens opportunities for so many individuals, which you've just named several opportunities for folks in our community. I'm again, like I said, when I was reading through this, you and Patrick and the work that you all are doing in this community, just first top of mind that came into my head that you're truly encouraging this, and I hope that through collaborative efforts we can continue to support you and the work that you're doing, and we can assist with some of those opportunities as well.
Sure. Well, I think that again with COVID and the way things that kind of put the brakes on everything and gave us a chance to say, okay, how do we remain relevant, or how do we become relevant?
Right.
Because I feel like we had gone so far as kind of working on building a good community of folks, and we really appreciate those relationships. But what it was, we were targeting the same group of people. With Second Fridays, it was the same group of people every second Friday. Love those folks, love to see them, but we weren't moving we weren't moving it forward. And so to try to, and I think that's a challenge for arts organizations altogether is
Absolutely.
Post COVID, or how do we find relevance in what we do?
Yes.
Because it changed the landscape completely in terms of, we built a model of business and community around social gatherings, and not having that for 2 years,
yes,
changed how we thought about all of that. And
exactly.
I think we're still trying to sort it out.
I totally agree. It's interesting that you said that, because with Bauer Center for the Arts, we're still trying to figure out the direction and our place in the community as well. And we've expanded upon taking our programming beyond our walls and doors and taking it out into the community versus the individuals having to come to us, which has been a big change. And also, as you said, with COVID, individuals or families found other ways to get arts or entertainment at home. And that had an impact on whether or not they were gathering or coming to programming within the Bauer Center for the Arts. So we've expanded and trying to do more outreach and taking it out to the communities and serving them in different ways. Also looking at other ways to serve. We're doing programmatic work with individuals with special needs and disabilities, which has been so rewarding for us over the last 6 to 8 months that we're going to be continuing that programming, expanding upon that as much as possible, making sure that we're ensuring that the arts are accessible to everyone in the community.
Yeah,
You've all done a wonderful job with that. Any other final last minute words or comments? How are things going? It's a crazy busy time of the year.
It is a crazy busy time of the year, and that's why it's just me here, because we're in the mad rush to get Christmas framing done in the next 14 days.
I'm sure. Yeah, it's just been, we just wrapped up our final performance, Dickens' A Christmas Carol, this past weekend. And so hopefully we're already gearing up for the first of the year. So it's just on to the next thing, but hopefully having a little downtime with our families and spending some time. And I want to remind everybody that's listening to the many ways that Patrick has Mitchell has just shared this morning, that you can become involved in your community, building connections. You can also attend exhibits and galleries, purchase art, make a contribution to the Thomas Chapel, to Bauer Center for the Arts, to help to continue this programming in our community, and encouraging individuals to open up and share and communicate and build a better community. And that's what we're hoping to do. I want to remind everybody that the Bauer Center for the Arts will be closed December 24th through January 1st so that our staff and folks can enjoy the holidays with their families. I want to thank you again, Mitchell, for joining us this morning. It was wonderful. And we just want to wish everyone a happy holiday and a happy new year.